Now, as Democrats gear up to try to take back the White House, President Trump is digging in, trying to hold on to a second term. One thing he really wants to accomplish, the deal of the century for peace in the Middle East. Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor Jared Kushner is traveling to the region right now to promote the economic plan, which specifically is a $50 billion investment fund for Gaza and the West Bank, which Kushner proposed at a summit in Bahrain last month. In a moment, we're going to hear from the U.S. ambassador to Israel, David Freidman. But first, many Palestinians and foreign policy experts criticize the proposal, saying that it's meaningless without a political plan. Correspondent Michael Holmes went to the small Palestinian village of Taiba in the West Bank to seek out the views at a local brewery, and he discovered firsthand the challenges and the red tape facing this family-owned business.
The Taiba Brewery in the West Bank is a Palestinian success story, producing 600,000 litres a year shipped locally to Israel and to 15 countries from Morocco to the US. It's a family-owned enterprise started 25 years ago and now run by a second generation of Khoury family brewers. And for all of those 25 years, the family has negotiated myriad obstacles, just getting their brew to markets abroad. It's a windy day here in the West Bank, but we wanted to come up here to show you the water tanks, because one thing you cannot make beer without is water. And water has always been a big issue in the West Bank. Israel controls the water supply. Taiba beer, like all Palestinians, they get an allowance. Once that allowance runs out, that's it. You want more, you have to pay for a tanker to ship it in.
At the moment in the summertime, that's when we feel the water shortage. That's when you want to brew more beer, and that's when we have water coming once a week.
Under the 1995 Oslo II agreement, Israel retained ultimate control over water resources. But Kogat, the Israeli military authority responsible for civilians in the West Bank, says the brewery is in a Palestinian-controlled area and the Palestinian authorities are responsible. In essence, when it comes to water issues, both sides blame the other. The latest attempt to untangle the Israeli-Palestinian conflict took place in Bahrain a few weeks ago. The US president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, unveiling an economic plan for Palestinians, one criticized by many for rehashing old ideas, being vague about implementation and putting off political solutions for later. Madis Khoury and her family say economic dreams are pointless without a political settlement first.
We need to resolve the political issue. We need to go back to negotiating and resolving the political problems, and then talk about the economy and economic solutions.
So when you heard that plan, what did you think?
I just brushed it off.
Instead of aid or vague investment promises, Madis Khoury says much could be achieved by the easing of Israeli restrictions. Taxes, red tape, rules and regulations, she says, are for Palestinians only. The first roadblock, a literal one, the Israeli checkpoint between the West Bank and Israel.
If you would look at the map, you would see the distance between our town Taiba to Haifa port, which we use to export. On the map, it's an hour-and-a-half drive. In reality, it actually takes 3 days if everything moves smoothly, which it never does.
Israel's Kogat says those claims are, quote, not consistent with reality. That checkpoint transit times for goods are down to an average 90 minutes, and further improvements are planned. The Khourys disagree, but back in Taiba, the family will continue to brew and wait. Their business a microcosm of the broader economic hurdles that confront the Palestinian economy. Hurdles the Khoury family say won't be cleared without there being that political settlement. Something that looks more remote now than ever before, although Madis's father, Nadine, is the eternal optimist.
Someday we will be free. We have high hope in the future. Nothing left for us except the high hope.
Michael Holmes, Taiba in the West Bank.
And listening to that is Sam Bahour. He's a Palestinian-American businessman who's very familiar with all these realities and with the Khoury family. And he's joining us now from Ramallah. Mr. Bahour, welcome to the program. You know, we heard from the people doing the work there, the actual business people in the brewery, that yes, money and economic incentives are great, but they need a political solution. Why is it not okay to just take this money that's being offered when so much of it is needed?
Actually, there's no money being offered to date. What we heard was an announcement of an economic plan of $50 billion, only 27 allocated to the West Bank and Gaza, half of that 27 being grants, half of it being loans. And the grants, not US money, but supposedly Arab money. All nice words, nothing has materialized to date. What I would say after being here for 25 years, after moving here from Youngstown, Ohio, working in economic development, is it's a grand plan. It's great to do economic development in Palestine, but there's a reason, a real reason, why it has not happened to date. Because of 52 years of Israeli military occupation, the restrictions that are placed on us make economic development unable to be addressed in a serious way. So I have no idea how an economic plan without putting the political parameters in place has even a chance to succeed.
Do you expect some of those questions that you're raising now could be addressed with Jared Kushner's current trip to the Middle East? You say not a single dollar has been committed, but clearly he's out there now trying to raise that money and perhaps trying to ask the Israelis to, you know, do what you think is necessary. In other words, reduce the red tape, you know, allow an economic lifeline to exist.
He may raise the money, but the issue is not only money. This is not an economic deal for a real estate project. He and the administration are undermining all of the legal foundation that is the scaffolding for a peace process to actually result in a two-state solution where both Israel and Palestine can live peacefully. Trying to create some kind of $50 billion carrot without a political parameter is like trying to build a building in New York without asking what are the laws that apply or what are the building codes. We want to build a building. We actually are building a state. But to do that, we need to understand the laws that are being applied and what are the building codes? Where are we able to build our state? Because up until now, Israel has not let any land be available for real state building. They control what we can and we cannot do. I, as an individual, have documented 101 restrictions that have been placed upon us. If Mr. Kushner can actually get those 101 restrictions removed, that would be great. But we're not going to pay a political price for our human right because it is a right, including the right for development. Okay. I can't understand how the U.S. feels that it can develop Palestine without the Palestinians, without the Palestinian leadership. Without political agency, there is no political plan and there is no economic plan.
So let me ask you about Palestinian leadership. Obviously, we know that the Palestinian Authority boycotted the talks. They didn't go. But I asked the Palestinian Prime Minister, you know, why he would punish, or would he punish, as it was suggested, Palestinian businessmen who went to the Bahrain conference, the summit, and he said no, no, no. But in fact, at least one was punished. They did arrest and then release the businessman Saleh Abu Maileh. And a security official told CNN that what they have done is tantamount to betrayal, and the Palestinian law punishes those who betray their homeland and the Palestinian people. So, I mean, even if Palestinian businessmen wanted to engage with this economic plan, the leadership is not allowing them.
I think it's inaccurate to call the Palestinians as boycotting the economic workshop. They were not invited to start with. Thus, the notion that you can develop Palestine without Palestinians officially is child's play. They did find 5 Uncle Toms. We're just like any other society. We have our Uncle Toms, and they found 5 individuals. And I think on the stage in Bahrain, the person on the panel was asked, what is your business in Palestine? I think he was asked 4 times and could not answer. The real Palestinian private sector are the ones who actually produced a statement against the economic workshop before the Palestinian leadership even made a public statement about it. So the private sector here is very understanding of what it takes to build an economy. Okay. We have skin in the game. we've been trying to do this for a while, and we know exactly what's blocking it. And it's not only the Israeli occupation, but we need to call it for what it is today, the U.S.-Israeli occupation.
Right. Well, let me ask you this, because you bring up the U.S. and Israel, and you have written quite interestingly, stating the obvious, that the United States, the Trump administration, is very pro-Israel. Its decision to move the embassy from Tel Aviv, its decision to suggest annexation of the Golan was okay. It's reducing or removing funding of the Palestinians clearly show that it is very pro-Israel. But you say that it's driving off a cliff to the detriment of Israel. Can you explain that?
Yes, I believe that Israel is drunk on power, and they are about to fall off the cliff. The cliff has a name to it. It's called the two-state solution. If Israel falls off the cliff, they will find themselves in a one-state outcome. I don't even want to call it a solution. Having said that, the only friend of Israel's that can actually stop the car and the driver from driving drunk is the United States. Instead of stopping the car, the United States has jumped into the driver's seat and put its foot on top of the Israeli foot, both on the accelerator. So Israel is just moving faster and faster under the Trump administration to find out that it's forced upon itself and upon us a one-state reality. And the fact of the matter is, we Palestinians can live in a one-state reality. My question to my Jewish Israeli neighbors, can they? And I don't think they can, given especially after passing this nation-state law, which basically says Israel is exclusively a Jewish homeland. If that's the mindset of Israel today, they are taking themselves to a detrimental step of potentially putting the state of Israel itself in danger.
Well,
The U.S. has a role to play, a legal role to play. They've always been pro-Israeli, we know that, but never have we had a U.S. administration to adopt an Israeli extremist right-wing agenda and implement it on the ground, and that's what we have today.